And I am super excited to be here with all of you today. The last time I was on this stage, I shared it with 5 other candidates for governor. It was a little more nerve-wracking in the back than today, but I am really looking forward to this conference and the conversation that we are going to have over the course of the next couple of days. And so I simply want to start by thanking the Detroit Regional Chamber and Sandy and Patty and all of the people that put so much work into making this conference a success. This is an important opportunity for thought leaders across our state to get together, to share ideas, and to have important conversations. But my goal in this conference is to turn these conversations into action. And that's what I was thinking about as I prepared these welcome remarks. You know, as a former legislator, I've attended this conference many times. I attended it as a state representative, as a state senator, as a candidate for governor, and now as the 49th governor of the great state of Michigan. And I've been coming here for years, but as I was preparing, I was thinking about some of the wonderful programming that I had the opportunity to benefit from. And it was a Milliken on Mackinac speech that has stayed with me over the years as one of the most poignant things that I remember being a part of and watching. I attended that conference even as a legislator, getting up early in the morning after a night at the Pink Pony, because I wanted to hear what Governor Milliken had to say. My father worked for Bill Milliken as his director of commerce when I was born, actually, and so I was eager to hear firsthand from Governor Milliken. And he talked about the importance of the city of Detroit to the health of the state of Michigan. He talked about how term limits had made it so difficult to build relationships so that we could solve problems and shed partisanship and find common ground. And he really reiterated how important and intertwined our futures are and how critical it is that we stay focused on where we can find common ground. And I think that that message was so important for the people in that room, but for me as a legislator. And I remember looking around the room and realizing I was the only legislator in attendance during that talk. And what a missed opportunity that was for my colleagues to hear a former leader who was known for problem solving, for being tough, but also being reasonable and being someone who could work with anyone. And he addressed some of the fundamentals that we continue to grapple with as a state today: infrastructure and education, closing the skills gap, things that we are going to be talking about during this conference as well. Now I want to focus my welcoming remarks now on the kids of Michigan, and Patty touched on it a bit in her remarks. But one of the things that motivates me more than anything are the children of the state of Michigan. During the month of March, the Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist, who's here in the front row, and I traveled the state and engaged with kids all across the state. 20 different schools we went to in order to read with children and reinforce how important literacy is and practicing reading. From our test scores to the teacher shortage to decrepit buildings, we know that years of disinvestment in the education of our kids has done undeniable damage to our education system in Michigan. And in the last 40 years, our state has changed. Where second graders in 1979 never worried about the quality of the water coming out of their tap. They didn't worry about if car repairs were going to have a huge impact on their parents' budget. They didn't worry about if there was a path to a high-wage skill, because when you graduated, if college was your path, it was affordable. Second graders in 1979 worried more about whether or not they could find an orange yarn bow to match their patchwork shirt in the 70s. And yes, that's me, if you were wondering. But I want everyone in this room to think about what second grade was like for you. Were these the things that you worried about? I'm not going to ask you what year it was, Congressman Upton, when you were in second grade, or Congresswoman Dingell. But I want to know, were you worried about the roads as a second grader in Michigan? Did you think for a second that the water might not be safe coming out of the tap? Did you wonder what path you might be able to afford to get into the skills that was going to be your passion or how you would take care of your family. I bet a lot of you never worried about those things. But Michigan kids today do. Having gone to all of these classes and engaging with children, I can tell you that the issues they raise are really dire, that there are kids who are struggling with stresses in their lives that we never contemplated. From Detroit to Portage to Bay City, we listened to the children of Michigan, and here's what they had to say. This is just a sampling of postcards that I received from kids in the Saginaw area. We heard from 1,900 kids who sent these postcards in a box that was so big my staff had to wheel it around in a cart. And I want you to see some of the examples of what kids sent that they were concerned about. This one is from Haley. Haley's worried about the Great Lakes. Haley's going to be an environmental activist who cleans up the Great Lakes. She's willing to help too. Don't you love second graders? These are from two children named Oakley and Quinton. They're concerned about making sure that they've got the supplies they need to get an education. Things that we never worried about as second graders, but that's what these kids are concerned about. Now this one's from a child named Nick who's got some colorful language. All right, we're gonna flip past that one. We're gonna just conclude Nick's an avid outdoorsman who feels strongly about his ability to hunt. But I wanted you to see what this represents in terms of what we heard about from our children, all right? I worried about seeing Bugs Bunny on Saturday morning, but our kids are worried about their schools and their drinking water, access to health care. They're worried about the roads. None of these kids is driving, and yet you can see the roads was the #1 issue that they raised, just like what we're reading in Cranes this week as well. 459 students from the area wrote about how terrible the roads are in Michigan. These are a couple of examples of that. 2 hours later, still falling into a pothole. But you can see, Jocelyn wrote that even though she's not old enough to old enough to drive, she still has a right to feel safe on our roads. These are our kids. You know, this is the future of our state. They're the people that we are counting on growing up and succeeding and staying here in the state of Michigan. And in their minds right now, the leaders in our state are unable to just get the fundamentals right. You think about when they start making decisions about where they want to make their lives, how critical it is that we get these fundamentals right. This is a letter from a high schooler who says, every time I drive, I can feel the money climbing out of my pocket to fix my car. Now, this young man is going to graduate in a couple of years, and he's going to make a decision about where he wants to make his life. Does he want to stay in a state that's not getting the fundamentals done? Or does he want to seek opportunity elsewhere? These are the kids that are telling us what they want us to work on and what we know we have to address here in the state. Now, going back to Governor Milliken, I remember feeling so excited when I left the conference that year. It was 2005, and getting back into Lansing to roll up my sleeves and to get something done on these fronts. And when I looked around the room and realized none of the other legislators were there, it was depressing, because so much good stuff happens at this conference. Thought leaders and experts and ideas and relationships. That's why we're here on an island together, to make sure that we create the synergy and the ideas. But it can't just be talking about our education system and talking about the skills gap and talking about infrastructure. It has to be coupled with action. And that's what I'm asking from all of you. In the first 5 months of this year, we accomplished something big on auto no fault. We built it together, and it was not easy, but it was bipartisan. And we're going to continue to have an opportunity to use that momentum and goodwill forward to tackle things like the state budget. But everyone in this room has a vested interest in us getting it right. I know that there are employers in this room who can't find the people with the skills you need to fill jobs that are currently available or anticipated to be. I know that you care about luring talent into Michigan and having the schools for the children of that talent to draw people into this state. And I know everyone believes water is a fundamental human right, and as the state with the 21% of the world's fresh water in and around our borders, we have to get our act together in cleaning up water for people across this state. So over the course of the next 72 hours, you're going to have a lot of conversations on that beautiful porch. You're going to attend a lot of receptions in the evening, and you're going to have an opportunity to interface with legislators. I know that Sandy has said there's a record number of state legislators coming here for this event this year. You need to take these opportunities to have conversations with as many as you can and tell them what a skills gap means to your business. Tell them what failing education system means to your ability to grow and to thrive. And tell them you will support them making the tough decisions to get these fundamentals right so that second graders in the future don't worry about the fundamentals that make Michigan a great place to live and to build a life and a future. This is a great state. It is unlike any other in the nation. When we get our fundamentals right, every one of us benefits, whether you're a West Sider or you're from Southeast Michigan or you're a Yooper, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you are a man or a woman. Every one of us gets ahead when we get the fundamentals right. So please, let's turn the talk that happens at this wonderful event into action this year. And next year, maybe we can talk about the next thing. Thank you very much and have a great conference.